Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is funny. Okay, yeah, welcome back. So today I've decided to share a little bit about marriage. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm very experienced in that area. No, not really, but I've been married almost 3 years. Yeah. Yeah, it will be 3 years in May. And I thought, there are things that, one of the lessons that I've learned in life is something about marriage. So since this channel is a place where I share something I've learned that I believe that might help, I thought I should share about marriage now. So, like as I said, I've been married almost 3 years. And yeah, it's been wonderful. We have 2 children, beautiful. I'm so in love with them, so obsessed. But yeah, when you're about to get married or dating or something, people will be like, yeah, marriage is so hard. How many of you have heard that, right? Like everyone is told, and then you're married and you're like, oh, marriage is so hard. But I thought like I would continue sharing some things that I'm learning, and I will be learning since it's a process of learning. But let me share with you what I've learned the first weeks of my marriage. Yay. So we went on our honeymoon after our wedding, and it was beautiful. We went to Brazil, so it was really nice, but it was terrible. The flight was terrible. I had to sit in between 2 people for 10 hours. 10 hours in between 2 people. Because, yeah, we didn't book our seats. So we sat in different seats. It was just, yeah. Oh, I did not like that. I did not like it. I couldn't sleep. And I was just like that the whole time. 10 hours. But anyway, we arrived and it was beautiful. It was nice. But then I start to see our differences. So point number 1 is like when you're married and you actually start living together, you start to see how different you are. And this is what I've told my friends. The things that you thought were cute about your partner, your spouse, when you're married, they start to be not cute anymore, So my husband is a very private person. He's very quiet. And yeah, he's not a talker. And I am a chatty. Yeah, I am, as you can see. And I'd be like, so let's talk. And he'll be, okay, I'm listening. And that's it, and you're like, oh my gosh. So when we were dating, I'd be like, oh, he's so cute, he doesn't talk. And now I'm like, I need you to talk. It's funny how and I still love that about him, I do. But that is an area that we struggle with. Like, I talk a lot, he doesn't. And it's nice, it's compromises between the 2 of us, but also sometimes I would want him to talk and he's like, what do you want me to say? I mean, so you come together. Anyways, I'll come to that. But yeah, and I remember, there were things that I had to change. Like I would see it in myself and I'm like, well, if I don't change these things, it's not gonna work, And if you are like me, I was married when I was 28 years old. So for 28 years, I've been building myself. I've been learning things. I've been just developing, working on myself, like on my insecurities, on my on things that I had to change. I've been just working on myself, and then I'm married now, and I have to change the things I've changed throughout my life. You're like, but I worked on this, and I really. It didn't take me long to really notice. Like I said, it was the first week of my marriage and I was like, okay, lots of things have to change. And I really didn't like the idea of it. I was just like, oh no, you just want to hold on to you, to yourself. yeah, I believe that's natural. That's maybe like human. But the Lord just like really showed me what marriage meant. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was not easy, but it was very, very simple. So it's like marriage is building together. You just start building life together, but you both had built your own lives, and you have to use the same blocks. You have to use the same blocks that you used to build yourselves to build together. So you are taking blocks out of what you've built before, which is like yourself, your personalities, or not really personalities, but your characters, and you're changing them to fit into this building that you're building together, right? And yeah, and I was like, wow, that was just profound for me. And I said, when, the faster I tear down the building I built, the easier, it's gonna be. The pain is gonna be less. If I keep on just like pulling it slowly and just leaving it there and then pulling it again just a bit and leaving it there, it just takes time and it hurts longer. It becomes much more difficult. So yeah, lesson number 1 was it's building together. So yes, it's true that you both have built your own lives separate, and now you've come together. And as you've come together, you have to build together. And when you start building together, the blocks come from your buildings. So you're gonna tear down your building and build together, right? And it's beautiful when you think of that. When you think of that image of like, okay, we're building together and we're just using our own blocks and like changing them and forming them to fit into this new building, that we are going to build together and that we're going to come together. So every time I think about that, it becomes easier for me to say, okay, I'm going to change these things, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. So yeah, that's really very important for me, and maybe it will help. So that's what I believe is one of the hardest things about marriage, is you have to change. And we take change as like this bad thing, like especially for like, it's like people would think, oh, you've changed, since you're married, you've become, I don't know, weak or whatever. And we see it as a very negative thing, but it's not. It's really not. And it's actually strength. It's actually beauty. It's amazing that we choose to do that. So yeah, know that you are going to change, and it's okay, and it's great, and it doesn't mean you're less of yourself, or you've changed, or you're weaker, or you don't stand for yourself. That's not what it means. You've grown up. That's what it means. You've grown up to choose to build together instead of sticking to your own, like, who you think you are, or who you've become or whatever, because it's not going to work. Or you can't just say like, yeah, give me your blocks and let's build on me. Like, that's not going to work. Or like for your spouse to say, yeah, just give me your blocks and tear down yourself and let's build on me. No, you both tear down yourself in a way, like the things that don't work together, and you bring them together to build together. So what I would ask, what I've been asking myself is, one, what are the things that I can change about myself? Really humbly, not like, like it's so hard to think like that, especially in our times where we feel like changing yourself for someone is terrible. It's not for someone, it's for something great, and that's your marriage. So yeah. So one thing is like, what are the things that I can change about myself, that I could really willingly let go, right? And then another point you would think is, what are the things that I see my spouse can change, right? And not like trying to change that person, who they are, but like things that they can change about themselves, right? And these should be things that they choose to change too. And then what can we work on together? So there are things that are very different about us that we can't change because they're probably our personalities, but how do we work around them? right? So thinking about like the things that you can work around them. So yes, these are the things that I've learned. Another major thing. So the first one was like these building together, right? Another thing is communication. And everyone tells you, that's my daughter. By the way, both of my kids are sleeping. That's why I can do this video. But yeah, so people will tell you how communication would solve everything in marriage, right? You just have to communicate. And you're like, yeah, okay, I know what to do. Communicate. The problem, what I've learned, I just learned this and I was like, wow, okay. I mean, everyone knows that you have to communicate. The problem is you don't know how to communicate. That's the difficult part. You know you should communicate for a better marriage or like to solve things. But how do you communicate is the question, right? So for me, what I really learned is, I don't know if I want to generalize like women and men, but for me personally, it's telling what I want or how I want things to be. And in my mind, if I've told you 2 or 3 times, I'm done. That's how I would think. I would think like, well, I've told you, so hey, I can't do this anymore. That's what I would think. I can't tell you again and again and again and again. And for my husband is like, why not? Just remind me. You know, it's so funny because he sees it so easily. He's like, why not? Like, that's literally how he would say it. But I told you last time, so why can't you tell me again? Like, just so easy. And you look at him and you're like, yeah, why can't I not tell you again? Well, I am proud, you know, the truth is about myself. It's like, I'm proud to not humble myself and say, you know what, okay, I don't like doing this, but I'm just going to humble myself and not like stick to like, this is who I am and I've done this and I don't like this, and really humble myself and do it, you know? So I believe that communication starts with humility. This humility though, it's like everywhere, right? It comes everywhere. Unless we're not humble, nothing is gonna work, really. Like, that's what I think. That's what let me take a sip. But yeah, like in humility, in like really humbling yourself, like I find it easier when I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna hold on to my pride or to my ego of like how I want things to be and how many times I should say something. And I'm just gonna do me and our marriage a favor by saying, hey honey, can you do this please? I told you last time, but can you do it? It's so much easier. And you see it, and like he would be like, yeah, sure. Like, it's so, yeah, you know, I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be that easy, but it just makes it so much easier. So communication for me starts with humbleness, with humility. If I am not humble enough to, okay, let go of my pride, let go of my ego, let go of like how things should be, then it's gonna be like, it's only going to be on my terms, you know? I'm gonna think like I'm gonna communicate on my terms, on how I believe I should communicate, and not really consider the other person. So yeah, in communication, humility is very, very important. I believe it's major. So these are the things that I would like to share for now. And yeah, more is coming, obviously. So yeah, last point that I really want to share from my heart, that's something like that's really concerning me, is about my people in Tigray. So I am from Tigray and my whole family is in Tigray. My siblings, my parents, my relatives, everyone. And the situation now is very grim. It's very sad to see our country going through this. It just is not something I ever imagined that our country will go through, because this is like, we are one people, we are one country, and we're just enduring this unnecessary division, but also death and starvation and just yeah, craziness that shouldn't have happened. And now I'm like really, it's just heartbreaking. You know, every time I talk to my parents, which is not as often because there's no internet, I will have like, I will be so glad that I talked to them, but I will have this like, my heart will be so broken to hear how they're hurting. And yeah, it's just a lot going on. So would you please, please, please pray for my country and for my people. Yeah, just pray that Ethiopia will once again come together, love each other, become a country, but also for now that this ends, because there are so many people that are starving and a lot of children, women, just so much like death and violence happening. So please, please, please pray for my country, for my people, for my family. You know, yeah. Thank you. And yeah, have a good week.